Welcome to 7 Mile Hill, everybody. Well, mushing season training has begun. Today we're going to go down to ASDRA and listen to two young men that come from our Joe Redington Sr. His grandsons are going to speak at ASDRA about why they mush and what it takes to be a musher. But in the meantime, we have to get started ourselves. There's teams all along the highway that have been started out training, and we've got some youngsters that need training. So we are going to get at it today. We're going to have to do it in 3 different sessions, today, tomorrow, next day, in order to get all our yearlings out, in order to with the older dogs as well. Take it easy.
Well, here's the first time out. We got a bunch of newbies, as you can see. That's a good girl, Denny. Good girl, Chipmunk. That's it, Papa Sal. Looking good, buddy boy. That's good, Pops. Good speed, huh? Don't go faster. Don't go faster. Just let him go like this. Okay, let's go. Hike. Good, Pops. That's it. Good puppies. Good, Pops. That's it, Miss Shael. Good girl. Way to go, Miriam. That's a good girl for Daddy. That's it, Papa Sawa. Good boy, Adawete.
Show you a quick slideshow. A lot of fun and great memories. This is about 40 years ago. This was made with my dad's team. And growing up, we always knew we wanted to be like our family. Our dad, grandpa, and uncles had ball racing the Ferrandi and sprint races here in Anchorage. And this is me running in the junior Iditarod. It's a 150-mile race and 10-dog race. And then this is me with our grandpa Joe, and he's the founder of the Iditarod. He started it in 1973, but he was big into sprint racing as well and ran the Ferrandi many times. This is him with his lead dog Feats. Feats was one of his most famous dogs, and that's the trophy for that Iditarod is a bronze statue, mainly from that photo there. They designed that trophy from that photo. And our grandpa was one of the doggiest guys there ever was. At one time he had over 530 sled dogs, and he loved dogs more than anybody that I've ever met before. And this is him training his puppies. 1979, him and Susan Butcher climbed Denali by dog team, and this is a picture of them at the top of Denali. And Susan Butcher named her daughter after that lead dog there. Tekla was the lead dog that they mushed at the top there. And this is our dad at the very first start of the Iditarod, and they took off from Tocha Track that year, and that was in 1973. And then this is our dad in his last race that he participated in, 2 46-mile heats. And he still has dogs. He has about a little over 70 dogs of his own. And this is our great-grandpa, Frank Ryan. He delivered mail by dog team to the surrounding villages of Unalakleet. So mushing is on both sides of our family. And our mom, she raced in the very first junior Iditarod, and she won an award in that race called the Red Lantern Award. And she has that trophy proudly displayed next to that trophy of my grandpa that I won in the Iditarod. And this is Robert here with his lead dogs Raptor and Cassette. And that was your first Iditarod finish. Yep. And this is our brother Ray, and then me and Robert with our dad there after the 2017 Iditarod. And the 3 of us. We just finished the Iditarod that year. And this is our dog trailer. And every year for a long time, about 11 years, I would take our dogs down to Wisconsin and train down there. And this is how we travel back and forth. And this is training in northern Wisconsin. And we didn't have enough snow yet, so we're still training like on a four-wheeler there. But one of the races that we do back then was the John Bear race. And Sarah ran our team that year in that race, and that was a big training step for the year that we won Iditarod. And then that's a couple weeks after that race, 150-mile race at the end of Kinnick Goose Bay Road called the Goose Bay 150. And every year we try to mentor a junior musher, and this is our last junior musher that we mentored in the junior Iditarod. And Morgan Martins is his name, and this is his first junior Iditarod, and he won the race that year. And this is him about 15 minutes after crossing the finish line. That race is 150 miles long, so they run 75 miles out, rest for 10 hours, and run 75 miles back to the finish line. And that was the first sleep that he got during that race.
How old was he?
14. And he won $16,500 in scholarship money racing our dogs in the junior Iditarod. And then for the Iditarod, this is us, me and my dad, testing out our dog food cooker. And this is how we thaw out the water for the dogs, or thaw out the food, and my food as well in the races. And before the race, 2 weeks before the race, we pay the race per pound to fly all our food out to the different checkpoints of the race. And Sarah cut up a bunch of fish here. And this is some of the snacks that I enjoy out on the trail. And then the food that year that I won the Iditarod was food from the Carr's grocery store. A couple years before that, I sent out 52 double quarter pounders from McDonald's, and this is much better. I like this much better. And this is some of the stuff that goes in our drop bags for the race: booties, and gloves, snacks, hydration, and sled plastic gear to switch on the bottom of the sled runners. And it's a really big event. It takes a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of effort. And this is what it looks like when we bring it into Anchorage to fly it out. Every year we fly about 2,500 pounds of food out on the trail. With some of that's the hydration and gloves and booties. And then before the race, every dog goes through an EKG, and that's Sarah over here holding Bolt. And they're just making sure their heart and their blood work is good to go before the race. And there are big, extensive vet checks before the race and at every checkpoint. And they write down the progress of each dog in our vet books. That's part of our mandatory gear. And then this is during the race here. The next slideshow after, but the race starts, ceremonial start in Anchorage, and then we restart the race in Willow. And then the year that I won the Iditarod, we took the southern route that year, and then this year we're going to take the northern route. And they just do that to share the race with the different villages on the Yukon River. And this is our mom holding my leaders here, Henry and Sherman, at the start. And then this is my mom and dad wishing me luck at this before the ceremony, before the restart in Willow. And this is me and Sarah here coming up to the starting chute, and they just said go, and we're just about a team length out of the start. And then here's some photos. This is about 20 miles out on the from the start, and that's Squiggly and Rivet and Lee. And then I stopped and said hi to my nephew and niece. They both raced in the junior Iditarod. And a couple weeks before that race, Ellen, she beat me in the Goose Bay 150, and Isaac. And then this is going into the checkpoint at Rome. And there I'm talking to one of the race judges there to get the trail report, and while I'm packing my sled. And it's important to ask how the trail is. Leaving that checkpoint, there's a lot of glare ice and very technical trail, and I stopped when he told me there was clear ice. I took the booties off my dogs that way they could have better traction, because there was clear ice for the first 6 miles out of that checkpoint. And then this is at a checkpoint. That's how we got the food, the dog food cooker there, and I think I rested there for about 4 hours before taking off. But this is me throwing another musher Gatorade, and that musher raced our dad's dogs in the Iditarod that year. And the bottom of the sled runners will ice up, and so we use a can of heat to de-ice where we can slide the runner plastic on. And this is coming into the checkpoint of McGrath, and that's how they mark the trail there. There's about 15,000 markers out on the trail, and it's still easy to get lost sometimes, but they got reflective tape on them, and they do really well showing up at night. And I try to run up every hill when I'm racing, and then I was the first musher into McGrath that year, and I won an award for the Alaska Air Transit first musher to McGrath, and I won a pair of beaver mittens and a fur hat. And if you guys want to check, a lot of mushers, spring mushers probably don't use this stuff because you don't need it as much because you're not out on the trail very much, but it's needed for the cold races like the Iditarod when you're out there many hours on the trail, and that's done there. And then we were allowed to switch sleds 3 different times in the Iditarod, and that's my green sled in the back there. I switched sleds 3 times that year. Sleep deprivation is one of the biggest challenges in the race. The year that I won the Iditarod, I averaged about 50 minutes of sleep a day. This is me waking up at one of the checkpoints. And then when I mentioned the cold weather, this is in the 2017 Iditarod at the checkpoint of Huslia. I frostbit my face real bad. It was 63 below zero that first night in that race. Robert was in that race as well, and he did real good. He got no frostbite, but I froze my face real bad. And but that's a lot of the challenges in the race, is the sleep deprivation and the cold weather. But this is some of the good things about the race. At the checkpoint at Takata, there's unlimited pie and all the food you can eat. And this is at the checkpoint of Iditarod, our halfway checkpoint. I just strolled into that checkpoint there, and that's Wade, another musher in the race that was checking out my team. And we try to go as light as we can. That dipper there that I have is made out of carbon fiber, and it weighs 4.5 ounces. And then here we are leaving the checkpoint of Iditarod, and that's Elvis. And we bootied the dogs almost every run in the Iditarod just to protect their feet. And here we are leaving Shagla. And this is where I made my move in the Iditarod that year. I was running about 4th and 5th place throughout the race, and at this point I lifted up the drag mat and asked the dogs to go a little faster, and they did really well. That's Ghost and Rivet and Lee. And I was the first musher to Caltech and won another award, the Bristol Bay Data Corporation first fish award, first musher at Caltech, and then here the dogs are resting at that checkpoint. I feel like. And then here's Rivet and Ghost at the checkpoint at Needlefleet. That's where our mom was born, and I was the first musher there and won the Ryan Gold Coast Award. And this is Ivory Carp Dog Team on a woolly mammoth tusk, and then also $1,500 in gold leagues there as well. And then here we are coming into the checkpoint of White Mountain, and we got 77 miles to go to Nome, and there's a quick video here. A couple minutes.
Biggest lead I've ever had with ours.
You know, Ryan's been chipping away at it for how many years? Like over 20, I think. Finally got his time.
I didn't want to celebrate for it. I know anything can happen in a dog race.
When Ryan Redington leaves White Mountain, there is history and legacy waiting for him. trying to conquer Mother Nature or the 77 miles ahead. He travels through the darkness knowing that with each passing mile he's gaining ground on an elusive dream. His days as a boy living out the Kinnick Arm, idolizing his grandfather, his uncle, and his father have all convened at this moment in his life.
Before he passed away, he walked me through his dog walk and told me, Ryan, these are the ones that I think are special. These are the ones that are amazing. He knew how doggy I was and how special the Iditarod and mushing meant to me and my brothers.
Ryan has said for years that his goal was to bring home that trophy that immortalized this race's founder. The Redington name has been etched on it for years, but never by a champion named Redington. And that just changed.
My mom was full of tears and happy, and I couldn't hold back anymore. It was something that I've been dreaming of since I've been a little kid.
And 2023 will forever be known as Redington's Run.
Here in 2023, I did our champion is Ryan Redington. It was undescribable.
That's Ghost and Sven, my lead dogs there, and they won an award called the Golden Harness Award for being the best lead dogs voted on by the other mushers in the race. And this is their award here. They got to go up on the banquet stage and get a little piece of my steak up on stage too. And that's the end of my slideshow. But my mushing career wasn't always successful. I haven't finished all the Iditarod races that I participated in, but I learned a lot from each of them, and I didn't give up on my dreams, and I reached out to my elders and asked a lot of advice from other mushers and kind of blended it into my own way of doing things. Not only did I have a lot of other mushers, like with my family, to ask a lot of advice from as well. That's one of my favorite things about mushing, and especially distance mushing. You're always still learning a lot, but I really think it's really if you want to get into distance mushing, it's really good to have a good mentor and ask a lot of questions and just have a lot of fun with it. Well, the race is just over 1,000 miles long, and that last run was 77 miles, and they was a little tired, but but once we took our break and they were ready to go for more, when we took them for walks, and but they're incredible dogs. That year we had 2,100 miles on the team before the race, and we had a smaller team coming into the finish line. We had 6 dogs that year. Yeah, the Dalzell Gorge is a section between Rainy Pass and Roan, and it's a few mile section where there's a lot of switchbacks, and it's an area that is not used very much, and so there's some open free crossings, and you got to be a good sled rider, and even when you're a good sled rider, it's very technical, and the dogs,
that does not, to lose a dog team going down, how would I can't even imagine. The dogs don't know to slow down or switch back.
I felt like my grandpa stopped him, I started running after him, and we're not going to be able to keep up with the dogs. And then as soon as I started walking, the hook fell off the sled and went right into the snow. So they're only away from me for about 200 meters.
Oh.
So I was like, wow. And then the second time it happened, I think a year or two later, it was about a quarter mile. So they went down a hill and then like an uphill right away, and they all got tangled up and balled up and stopped. So I got really lucky there too. They're so close away from me. They don't care if we're on the back or not once they go.
And right now we're going 53 miles, and but we got good help, and hopefully we get some more snow.
I came in late. I'm sorry if you guys are late. So where are you located?
We're in Kinnick, Alaska. I am, and Robert's in Caswell. Yeah.
How do we sleep? I mean, do you fall asleep on sled?
Yeah, I have a lot. And the year after I won the Iditarod, I was mushing along, and I fell asleep and fell off of my sled face first into the snow. And I took off running as quickly as I could to catch up to my sledding team. And I got about here to you guys and from my sled. And when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to catch up to my sled, I asked the dogs to slow down. But you know, as much as they love to run, they all looked back at me, and then they just kept running down the trail. And I was lucky that I had another musher just a couple minutes behind me, Paige Robney, that had good sportsmanship and gave me a ride. And we rode together with her team for about 20 minutes until we caught up to my team. So yeah, it was embarrassing, but it does happen. And yeah, so if you ever lose your team, don't get too discouraged. I've lost a lot of dog teams out on the trail. Yeah, but our goal is to keep them at a nice smooth trot and fast trot. But I ran the Rondi in 2012, and I missed those speeds. In Iditarod we'll snack and offer them water right before we take off. And even when I raced the Rondi, I had 6 of my Uncle Joey's dogs and 12 of my own, and we gave them a water about half an hour to 40 minutes before the race, and we do a lot of feeding. We never had no problems. But we do feed them. In Iditarod, sometimes I feed them everything that they want to eat because they go through the calories.
But then, do you run them like right after, or do they have?
About 4 hours later, yeah. What do we feed them? Right now, we're feeding a lot of salmon and salmon, rice, and beef, and beef fat, and then kibble mixed in with it. But in Iditarod, we feed a lot of our food is from like Costco or Three Bears, and we feed a lot of human grade chicken and pork belly and a lot of like ribeye steak.
Oh wow! So they
there's no shortcuts
for
Iditarod. I don't like feeding ground meat in the long distance racing. I feel like the dogs, when they get tired, they don't like to eat ground meat. But if you give them a ribeye steak that's hard, they love it. You know, they don't turn it down. Yeah.
What do you snack them with when you're snacking them along the way?
Yeah, a lot of like either salmon, chicken, or liver. Pork belly.
If I was in Iditarod, it depends on the temperature. So we got like sheepfish that we get from Kotzebue. That's really good when it's extreme cold because it's so oily, it doesn't really freeze up. Where the dogs, it's easy for them to eat. And then you can also like soak kibble and mix that with meat and give them a different soak beef. If it's hot, I want something real lean. Salmon's really good when it's warm, and then I don't want to affect their main meal going into the checkpoint, so it's usually something light on their second snack. But it does depend on temperature. Chicken skin's really good.
To keep the fat down when it's warm, and then the fat goes up when it's colder.
Yeah. And then they're eating like sharks once it gets 0 or colder. So it's when it's warm, 20 degrees or warmer, that's when they might be picky. So we gotta come up with tricks or
Parka that's rated for about 50 below 0, and then I dress in layers as well. Usually I have a fur ruff that comes up over my parka, and then a neck warmer that comes up, and the only thing really you can see when it's real cold is my eyeballs, and then beaver mittens, and then yeah, neck warmer like that one in the photo there, and I think Robert might have one. And I try not to use hand warmers, but hand warmers are good too. It's just what mushers are used to, and yeah, when I use them, they're more. I gotta use them all the time, and so I try not to use them. Yeah. But if my hands get cold when I'm mushing, I'll put them against my stomach to warm them up. And I hope you guys have a good mushing season.